turn signals and headlights are all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. They're all clean, the proper color. I have no leaks up under the truck, and my truck's not leaning from one side to the other. Now I'm going to go under the engine. Start on my passenger side. General overview, all of my hoses and wires, they're all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. They're not leaking, and there are no abrasions, bumps, and cuts on any of those. I'll start my coolant reservoir. It's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. I have a sight glasses where I check the fluid level in it. I'm going to go to my alternator. Properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. It is belt driven, and my belt can have no more than 3/4 inch of play on it. And my electrical lines connecting are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. Have no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. Water pump, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. It's gear driven. Washer fluid container, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. Check the level. I'd look right here on the side of the jug. My radiator, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. Now we'll go to the other side. My general overview, all my lines and hoses and wires are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. There are no abrasions, bumps, and cuts on those. I'm going to start over here with my air compressor. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking, and it is gear driven. My dipstick, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. That's where I check my oil. I'd pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it out, and make sure it is above the add level line. Next, I'll go to my power steering fluid reservoir. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. To check the sight, to check the level in this, I'd look through the sight glass right here, or check with the dipstick from under the cap there. Take it off. We'll follow this hose around. It has no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. It goes to my power steering pump, which is properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking, and it is gear driven. I'll follow this hose back around to my gearbox. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. Also, this hose is not leaking either. No abrasions, bumps, or cuts on it. My steering shaft, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and it's greased and connected properly at the U-joints. My 3-piece steering linkage, 1, 2, 3, and my tie rod. They're all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and they're secured by castle nuts and Carter keys, Carter pins. Now I go to my suspension. I have a front leaf spring hanger and a back leaf spring hanger, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. My leaf springs, they're all present. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and none are shifted or missing. My U-bolts, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and they're secured by washers and nuts on the bottom. My shock and my upper and lower shock hanger, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. My shock is not leaking. My brake lines and hoses, my ABS line, properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, are leaking, and no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. My brake chamber, slack adjuster, push rod, and my clamp, they're all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. And to check my brakes, I would chop my wheels, release my brakes. I can have no more than 1 inch of play on my slack adjuster push rod. I go to my brake drums and brake linings. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. There's no debris or oil in between my brake drum and brake pad, and they're not worn dangerously thin. My pads aren't. I'm gonna go to the sidewalls on both my tires, or sidewalls on my tire. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. No abrasions, bumps, or cuts on those. Top of my tire is wearing evenly. I'd have to have a minimum of 4/32 tread depth on my steer tire. I check that with a depth gauge. We'll go to the outside rim. Properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, no illegal welds. All my lug nuts are present. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. If they were loose, I'd have shiny metal shavings or rust streaks on coming out of those. My hub seal. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. To check the level on that, I pop that cap off, stick my finger in, and make sure it's the proper level. And down here I have my valve stem. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. The cap is present. And that's where I check my tire pressure with a pressure gauge. Tire pressure gauge should be 100 PSI. I'm gonna keep going or stop. All right. I'm gonna do my truck now. I'm gonna do a general overview. Everything on my truck looks to be properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and in good condition. I'm gonna start with my door. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. Both my hinges are present, and my rubber strip, or rubber seal, weather stripping, it has no abrasions, bumps, and cuts on it. It's in good condition, and it shuts properly. Start with my mirror. It's properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose, and it is clean. My turn signal, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. It's clean in the proper color. My steps, they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and there's no debris on those. My doghouse door, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. It's in the lock position. My fuel tank, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. And my fuel tank cap, on it I have a rubber seal inside and a safety chain there, and it's present, and it's not leaking. We'll go up here, and I'm going to talk about my exhaust, which is right down here. My exhaust is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. If it was leaking, I would see black soot where it's coupled together. My drive shaft down here is properly mounted, secured, it's not cracked, damaged, loose, and it's greased and attached properly at both U-joints. My frame and cross member, they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, and have no illegal welds on any of my frame. As I get down, I'm going to talk about my catwalk and my catwalk steps. They're all properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and there's no debris on either one of those. Now I'm going to go under here and I'm going to go talk about my suspension. I can see my suspension. I have a torque rod. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. I have two U-bolts. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. And they're held on by washers and nuts. I have an airbag and airbag mounts, top and bottom. They're all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. Airbag's not leaking, and there are no abrasions, bumps, and cuts on it. I have a shock, an upper mount, and a lower mount. They're all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. Shock's not leaking. I can see under here, I'm gonna go to my brakes. I have brake hoses. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. No abrasions, bumps, or cuts. I have a brake chamber, slack adjuster, push rod, and a clamp. They're all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. And to check my brakes, I would chop my tires, release my brakes, and should have no more than 1 inch of play on that slack adjuster and push rod. Next, I'll go to my drums and linings. Brake drums, brake linings on the inside of the tire. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. They are clean of debris and oil, and my pads are not worn dangerously thin. Talk about the sidewalls on both of my tires. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. No abrasions, bumps, or cuts, and they're not leaking. Tops of my tires wearing evenly. That's where I must have a minimum of 2 30-seconds tread depth, which I would check with a tread depth gauge. My bud spacing, bud rims, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and there's no debris between my tires, which could cause a fire. They're not rubbing together. Go to the outside. My rim, properly mounted, secured, it's not cracked, damaged, or loose, no illegal welds. All my lug nuts are present. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. If they were loose, I'd see rust streaks or shiny metal shavings around the lugs. Hub seal, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, not leaking. If it was leaking, I would have oil all around the rim. I got a valve stem here. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. My cap is present. and that's where I would check my tire pressure with a tire pressure gauge and have 100 psi in these tires. My lights back here, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. They're clean and they are the proper color of red. Mud flaps. Mud flap hanger, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. There's no abrasions, bumps, cuts on my mud flap, and they are proper distance from the ground, which is no more than 6 inches. All right, now we're going to go to our coupling. My coupling system. I have air connections and electrical connection. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. My air lines are not leaking. And to check my electrical connection, I would pull this plug out, make sure all the prongs are present on this side and there's no debris in there. I'm gonna check my air and electrical lines coming across. They're all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. These aren't leaking. There are no abrasions, bumps, or cuts on either one. They're not dragging on the catwalk. My air and electrical connections over here to the trailer are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. My airline's not leaking. To check my airline, I would pull that off and there'd be a rubber seal in there. It should be in good conditions, no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. And my electrical line, I would pull it out and make sure that all the prongs are present and there's no debris in there. And then we'll go under the truck for the rest of the coupling. All right, we're going to start with our apron. It's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. I have no gap between my apron and my fifth wheel skid plate. My fifth wheel skid plate right here is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and it's properly greased. I have a pivot pin and a Carter key right here. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. My release handle, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and it is in the lock position. My platform, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. My sliding fifth wheel rail right here, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and my locking pin is in the lock position. I have upper mounting bolts and lower mounting bolts. They're all present. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose in any way. Step to the back. I know you probably can't see it, but I'm going to talk about it. I have a king pin that's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. I have locking jaws. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and they're in the lock position around the king pin. And then the last thing is, I have enough clearance between my mud flap and my landing gear to make my turns without tearing something up. Now we'll go to the trailer portion part. All right, I'm gonna start with my bulkhead. It's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose. There are no holes. It's in good condition. I have lights and reflectors. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. They're clean in the proper color. Step back, look at the side of my trailer. Side of my trailer, everything is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. I see no holes inside of my trailer. I'm going to talk about my running lights, my DOT tape, my reflectors, and my turn signals on the whole side of the trailer. They're all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. They're clean and they're the proper color. And I also have a latch where if I open my door back there, it's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. It'll hold the door open. Next thing I want to talk about my landing gear. Right here. It's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. I have all my cross members are present. I have both feet present, and my handle is in the locked and stowed position. As I walk back, I'm going to talk about my side skirt right here, the silver part. And my cross members under my trailer. They're all present under here, and both of these are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose in any way. Now I'm going to go under. I'm going to do my rear axle on my trailer. All right, I'm going to start right here with my sliding tandem rail. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and my pins and my release handle are all in the locked position. Then I'm going to go to my suspension. I have a torque rod right here. It's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. I have spring hanger, front and a back, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. I have leaf springs. They're all present, none are shifted. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. Have U-bolts. Properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and they're secured by washers and nuts on the bottom. Right there. Right there, excuse me. Now I'm going to go to my brake system. I have my brake hoses and lines. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. No abrasions, bumps, or cuts. I have a brake chamber, a clamp, a slack adjuster, and a push rod. They're all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. To check my brakes, and the clamp's present. To check my brakes, I would chop my wheels, release my brakes, and could pull on this. Have no more than 1 inch of play. I'm going to check my brake drums and brake linings right here. They're both properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. My brake linings are not worn dangerously thin, and there's no oil or debris between my drum and my lining. Now I'm going to talk about the sidewalls on both my tires, my sidewalls. They're both properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. They're not leaking. There are no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. Tops of my tires wearing evenly. Must have a minimum of 2 30-seconds tread depth on these, and I would check that with a tread depth gauge. My bud spacing and my bud rims, they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. And there's no debris, and the tires are not rubbing together, which could cause a fire. We'll come back to the outside. My rim, same as everywhere else. My rim, properly mounted, secured, it's not cracked, damaged, loose, and there are no illegal welds on it. My lug nuts, they're all present. They're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. If they were loose, I'd have see shiny metal shavings or rust streaks. My hub seal back here, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. And to check the level, I would just pop the cap or look in the sight glass on this. And last, I have a valve stem. It's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, or leaking. And my cap is present. And that's where I'd check my tire pressure for 100 PSI with a tire gauge, tire pressure gauge. We're gonna move to the back. All right, we're gonna talk about our doors. All my hinges, they're all present. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose. And all my door latches, they're all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose. They're present, and they're in the lock position. We're gonna talk about our reflectors, DOT tape, and our lights on the whole back of the trailer. They're all properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, damaged, loose, and they're clean in the proper color. And last would be my mud flaps, properly mounted, secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, no abrasions, bumps, or cuts. And they're the proper distance from the ground, which is no more than 6 inches. Now we'll do our end cap. We'll set it off now until I start. I mean, it's up to you. I'm gonna close the hood and everything.